Alright everyone, welcome back to the third and final part of Ask the King, episode 55 for October 2015. Let's jump right into the questions, and by the way, I'm going to leave the air conditioner on at this point because it's so incredibly hot in here because of the sun. It is what it is. Let's continue. Alright, this next question is from GL, and he asks the following. He says, what's your stance on the modern rehashing of classic 90s to 2000s video games? It seems like many video games that people have grown up with are now making their grand return in HD quality remakes or remasters. It's becoming something of a trend nowadays to do these games. Notable games like Resident Evil 2, Shenmue, Final Fantasy VII have been announced and are sending fans into frenzies across the globe. Be it a cheap cash-in or respectful tribute to their fan bases, how do you feel about the video game industry taking this road? It depends. It depends, and the reason I say that is because some of these HD remakes have been fan-requested for quite a long time, and some of them have not. So, for example, Final Fantasy VII. People have been asking for that game to be remade, whether just redrawn and redone in HD or completely remastered and you know, redesigned from the ground up, because people really have that game in high regard. They hold it close to their hearts, as that was the modern RPG that took JRPGs into the mainstream because it was on the PlayStation. It took them out of the 2D artwork, brought them into polygons, 3D, and really that's where the Final Fantasy series, which had been incredibly popular up to that point, that's where it exploded and became synonymous with JRPG worldwide. It was Final Fantasy VII, okay? So I can understand why people would maybe want that game to be remade, because I'll be honest, the game, when you play it, is not very good, in my opinion. Like, it does not age well. It really is a more archaic game. The graphics are pretty bad. A lot of the blockiness and nastiness of the graphics, and there's just things that they've improved over the years with RPGs that was not present in that first 3D Final Fantasy game. Shenmue, right? Shenmue, that's a series that hasn't been around in 100 years. We're finally going to get a new installment. Resident Evil 2, people have been asking to be remade for how long? I think that if there's a game that's old enough that there's a whole different generation that's experienced it, and you want this game to be re-experienced for a more modern generation, then an HD remake or redesign or remaster is warranted. In addition, if there's a game that had such a huge fan base that people want to see it again in a more modernized version, then it's warranted. What I don't agree with is people taking these games from the PlayStation 3 and saying, oh, it's the HD remaster on PS4. That's fucking bullshit. Some people, are you going to play God of War 3 remastered on PS4, Phil? No! The game looked great on PS3. The PS4 version adds nothing besides maybe a few graphical overhauls here or there. Why the fuck would I rebuy and replay the same fucking game? The Gears of War collection that just came out. If you're a huge fan of Gears of War and you want that collection all in one, okay. But those games looked great on Xbox 360. I don't need a 1080p version of the game I played in 720p and everything's identical. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no reason for a lot of these games to exist. You know what I mean? And in that regard, I think it's silly that some of these games that are not even, you know, not even 5 to 10 years old are getting HD remakes like it needs to come out again. Fuck, man. Final Fantasy X just had an HD re-release on the PlayStation 3. A year later, it's on PlayStation 4. Good lord, you know, and it's just like, oh my god, it's silly. It really is silly in that regard. You know, that there has to be a reason. If the game is so old that it's hard to get the original version, like, let's face it, Resident Evil 2, you can't play that on PS1 anymore. What you have to do is get the digital version on PSN or whatever, and play this emulated digital version that is kind of inferior to the original. So in that regard, of course, Resident Evil 2 should be remade modernly. You know what I mean? But God of War 3, you know, and that's where I draw the line. If the game is old enough, if the game has enough of a demand that people want to see it come back, or you feel that a new generation could experience it with a more modern version of it, great, remake it. But don't redo the same fucking game that came out 2 years ago in HD. Oh, it's HD now on PS4, and tell me it's a new game, and that's ridiculous. Alright, next question is from Atlas Telemon, and he says, Phil, what is your best improvement in daily life and quality of life compared to 2 to 3 years ago? What stands out most? This is with respect to your weight loss, living in a warmer and better tax climate, living together with your girlfriend, those types of things. Well, ultimately, just think of the daily changes to my life now from 2 to 3 years ago. All right, so 2 to 3 years ago, let's say 2012. I was living by myself in Connecticut, in a much smaller place. I was cramped. I felt like I couldn't do anything creatively or even just lifestyle-wise because I was in this small condo. I wanted to expand. I wanted to either get an office or get a bigger place. Right now, I live in my own big home in Seattle. Boom. Immediate improvement. I have my own office now. I really think the level of my videos are a lot better because of the improvements right there. That's number one. My physical, personal health. Much lighter now. I lost a lot of weight. I'm still weighing over 200 pounds, but I'm not the bloated Phil that you saw for several years there, okay? The quality of what I'm eating. Daily Leanna is making me healthy food. Right today, she's making pork chops, lean pork chops with mixed vegetables and a few potatoes. Amazing, fresh, healthy food. Versus every day I used to go out and get fast food of some kind. Now, it wasn't always greasy fast food. Sometimes I get a turkey sandwich or chicken, but it was still fast food versus home-cooked, healthier meals every day, right? There's a couple times a week, maybe we go out once a week and we go out to dinner once, but mostly my meals are at home and they're much healthier than they used to be, okay? So that's why right now, physically better than I've been in a decade. My back, by the way, another thing, huge thing, my back is fine. I don't feel much pain at all. Every once in a while, I'll be out for a day and I come back, my back is stressed out. It hurts for a little bit. But I don't get the numbness in my legs anymore. I don't get the shooting pain anymore. None of those issues I have with my back. It's almost all but fixed, except that I know that if I strain it, it's going to get fucked up again, okay? Being able to live with my girlfriend, huge improvement. I used to only be able to see her one weekend a month. And, you know, I would work hardcore, and then so that those 5 days a month when she would visit, I wouldn't be doing gameplay videos because I would be with her, right? Now I see her every day. We get to share life experiences. She has her own business going on. She cooks, we clean, we do everything together. It's fun. It's a lot better to share your life with someone than to have it only to yourself. So in that regard, another huge improvement. He mentions taxes. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. The taxes here, no state income tax, okay? And property tax is much lower. Almost every tax in this state is lower besides sales tax, but I don't buy a lot of stuff. So in that regard, I am overall paying way less taxes than I was in Connecticut. So taxes are much lower here. And the climate, yeah, oh my god. It's hot here, but it's not incredibly fucking super humid hot in the summer. It's cold here, but it's not snowstorms snowed in for weeks at a time cold like it was on the East Coast. So there's just so many positives, seriously. So many positives versus the negatives. And yeah, there's financial negatives, absolutely. I'm still in debt. I'm probably still going to be in debt for a couple of years trying to pay this debt off from the move. And yeah, I did take a hit. I'll be honest, my viewership, I've taken a hit because I feel that when I moved across the country, a lot of people didn't like the fact, oh, Phil's moving up in life now, and we don't like that or whatever. But even though, despite the negatives, the positives outweigh the negatives hugely. So I am very pleased that we made the move. There you have it. Next question is from Industrial Gamer. He says, I was wondering what your thoughts are on the rumors that suggest Nintendo's next-gen console will not include a disc tray at all and opt for digital-only games. Do you think that the world is ready for a digital-only console in the next 2 years? What are your thoughts on rumors suggesting that this NX will not even be on a competitive level with the PlayStation 4? Listen, everything's speculation that we're hearing right now about this new Nintendo console, the NX, and with the new leadership, the new CEO, we don't really know what's going to happen with Nintendo. I've been saying this recently. I actually do feel that within the next 5 years, gaming consoles will be digital only. Gaming consoles will be digital only. The physical disc is going away. I just bought a game this week, Tony Hawk 5, okay? The game had only about 1/3 of the content actually on the disc. You had to download an 8 GB patch that was twice the size of the data on the disc to even play the game. So most of the game was digital. And I think these publishers don't want to feel the pressure of we have to make a physical copy, ship it to stores before it could be sold. They want to be working on these games till the very last minute before they digitally distribute them. It's a big cost savings for these publishers to not have a physical copy of the disc anymore. And I really hate to say it. Remember, release day unboxing used to be such a big thing. It's on the way out. I really do feel that games are going to go digital only within the next 5 years. However, okay? The problem here is there's still people who don't have great internet. There's still people in the United States, at least, who don't have great internet. We don't have a consistent level of internet across the United States. If you don't have good internet, you can't get these games digitally. So there's going to be a big chunk of market that's left out. And that's going to be the measure. How do we figure out, how do you get games to people who don't have good internet if you're going digital only? I'll be honest, Nintendo might be going without discs. Maybe they think that it's digital only is the way to go, okay? I certainly don't think that their console should be not on par with current consoles. That's insane. If they're making a console that doesn't have graphics as good as Xbox One and PlayStation 4, I hope that they're okay with only selling first-party games, because third-party developers will not develop for them again. And we saw with the Wii U what happens when you have a console with only first-party games. The consoles Nintendo's worst selling ever, and probably the biggest miserable failure of anything besides the Virtual Boy that Nintendo has ever put out. So, do they want to do that again? Does Nintendo want to be a game developer or a amiibo seller? And that's the question. Do they want to sell little fucking tchotchkes, knickknacks, or do they want to make games again? And that's what they're going to have to decide with this NX. They have to be very careful with what they do. But I do actually believe it might be digital only, but they better not make it less powerful or they're fucked. Okay. The next question is from... Oh, this is the final question from the forums, ladies and gentlemen. This one is from Street Guru. And he says, Phil, in Metal Gear Solid 5, you have Quiet, who is clearly there for some fan service. I mean, tits out the whole game, right? But she isn't just a background character, and generally isn't portrayed as a sexual object in the game, aside from maybe one scene, kinda. So for you, where does the line between fan service and explicit sexual pandering get drawn? Where does Bayonetta fit into this? She's clearly meant to be sexy, but still has characterization and is the main character of the game. Listen, here's the problem. Here's what people... This is what the SJWs that I mentioned earlier on this episode come into play. Sexuality is not a bad thing. Sexuality is a core part of the human experience. Humans need to be attracted to each other to have sex and reproduce and keep the race going. It's a natural thing. There's nothing wrong with sexuality at all. There is something wrong with an overabundance of sexuality, because everything needs to be in moderation, right? So if you have a video game with a sexy character, and that character is meant to be the sexy character of the game, that's great. If you have a game where the entire game is naked girls, that's a little different. You know what I mean? So to have a character like Quiet in Metal Gear Solid 5, who barely wears any clothing, and it's pretty obvious that Kojima did it because he wanted to have a sexy girl in his game. Okay, sexuality, right? But the whole game wasn't about kidnapping sexy girls and having a harem of girls and fucking them, was it? No. So, there's a line you need to draw. Now, SJWs will have you believe that every bit of sexuality everywhere is bad and wrong and evil. How dare there be a tit here and a boob here? How dare this girl not be a completely gender-neutral, non-sexual character? It's like sexuality of women is bad. It's not. And this is the problem with these SJWs, is they want to just find issues for the sake of getting attention for themselves rather than actually solving any kind of a social issue. There's nothing wrong with sexuality. The bottom line is there will be more female sexuality in video games because, yes, it's still proven that when it comes to AAA, big-budget video games, more men buy them than women. That's a statistical fact. More men spend more money on video games than women. If you look overall, okay, it's kind of even because there's mobile games and all that. But if you're looking at the big budget titles, yes, more men buy them than women. So they're going to have more female sexuality than male sexuality, right? Obviously, it's business 101. It's going to exist. Males are attracted to females. There may be people who saw Quiet and said, I'm going to buy Metal Gear Solid 5 now because there's a sexy naked chick in it. She's not really naked, but almost. But still, that'll happen, and you're always going to have that fucking market. It's always going to exist. You'll never go away. Unless you want to have a completely sterilized society where sex is just some kind of a thing that's barely spoken of and is only done in for pure necessity with no enjoyment, no kind of seduction or attraction or anything whatsoever. It's just plain vanilla boring. That's apparently what these SJWs want. Well, they can have that fucking world and go live on a fucking other planet or an island or wherever the fuck they want to live with themselves. I enjoy having a little flair every once in a while and having a little arousal or whatever it is that you get from, you know, from games. Now, Bayonetta, yeah, is the main character sexualized? Absolutely. But she's also empowered. She's incredibly powerful. She's the most powerful character in the entire universe. She's very assertive. She's an individual. What's wrong with having some sexualization if you're a strong and powerful individual? But the SJWs, oh god, that's terrible to have any kind of sexualization. Fine, go live by yourself in fucking boring, you know, the nation of boredom. That's what we'll call where you live. And you can all fucking be all PC with each other in a fucking circle, in a padded fucking room so no one can ever injure each other or hurt each other. And you do your shit to yourselves and leave all those normal fucking humans alone because we like fun and you're a fucking bunch of bores. How about that? Okay. So, here we go. Let's go ahead and do Twitter and Facebook questions and end this episode of Ask the King. Okay. First question is from Bleary Line, and he says, do you have any update on whether you'll be able to play Rock Band or Guitar Hero this year? And if you can, which one will you go for? I'll be honest with everyone. Originally, I was very strongly considering playing probably Rock Band this year, Rock Band 4, because I really enjoyed Rock Band when it was popular. I had both the guitar, the drums, and the microphone. I hated the drums. They never really worked, but the guitar and microphone was a lot of fun. And everyone was saying, gee, it might be a cool year because all these series are getting rebooted after being gone. That Phil would do these for the hardcore gaming season, okay? Sadly, everyone, I hate to say this, but with all the shit that I've gone through this year with false copyright strikes and shit against my channels, at this point, I'm not going to fuck with it. I'm not really nervous, but I get the feeling that if I were to do a playthrough of Rock Band or Guitar Hero or whatever, that the music would probably get flagged by someone, and regardless of if there's copyright strikes, Content ID takes away any profit I would make on a video. So I play the game and I love it. I play it for a week, and then the whole week of work is gone, and I make no money on it, and I can't pay my bills. So it's not worth the risk, and it sucks because it really is, you know, it's good. I love that gaming series. I love Rock Band and Guitar Hero. But until YouTube actually sorts out its fucking copyright system and stops false copyright strikes and respects fair use, which they don't right now, they treat you guilty until proven innocent, I can't do it. So unfortunately, the music games are out. And I really wanted to. But seeing how fucked up YouTube's system is just earlier this year with false stuff, now imagine I actually am using the real music in the video, I'm not going to chance it. Sorry, everybody. You got to blame YouTube. Okay. Next question from Darziat Gaming. He says, out of all the controllers you've used over your life, which is your favorite and what is the most disliked? My favorite is probably the Super NES controller. It was a combination of great control via the NES gamepad with added buttons and a contour that really fit your hand well. The D-pad was great. I could use the D-pad to play fighting games. It was actually so good. The buttons were responsive. It was actually hard to break a Super NES controller unless you fucking threw it in rage, which I did a few times. And I really enjoyed it. My worst controller ever was also for the Super NES. It was called the Fight Stick Pro. It was released in tandem with Street Fighter 2 on the Super NES, and they actually sold it and said, if you want accurate arcade-style controls for Street Fighter 2, you have to buy this joystick. So I did. It cost over $100. It was a piece of shit. The joystick was a square gate. Meaning if you're going to do like a fireball, there's no rounded motion because it was a square corner. So you couldn't even get basic special moves to work on it. All you could do is play with charge characters. The buttons were puffy buttons that like they didn't respond well when you pushed them. And it was impossible. If you just pressed the button rapidly, you couldn't get like punch, punch, punch wouldn't come out. So the joystick was a huge, complete piece of shit. They sold it as, oh, this is like, if you play it in the arcade, you want this stick to play it at home. It was a piece of garbage. The game was unplayable using the joystick, and it ended up being over $100 waste of money for me. All right, there you go. Next question is from Geek Guy 654. What are your thoughts on walking simulators? You liked Gone Home, but you haven't seemed to like recent ones as much, like Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Yes, it's true. I did not like that game at all. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a game that's very heavy narrative. Heavy narrative base, okay? Lots of explanation, of story, of backstory, reading logs, looking at photos, and doing all that kind of stuff. But a game ultimately at its core has to be that, a game. Something has to be interactive. There has to be a part of the game that requires some kind of intelligent thought in order to complete it, or else there's no challenge, there's no game. If you could literally just bounce off of walls randomly and eventually beat the game, then it's not a game. There's no real challenge to it, okay? Gone Home was a game where you wandered around a house, and you had to find clues to find out where's your family. They're all missing from this house. Where could they be? You had to solve puzzles. You had to find hidden buttons. There was an air of mystery, excuse me, and stuff around it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, yes, you were just walking around the house, but you were doing stuff, interacting with the house, and it was fun and interesting. You were solving, you were solving a mystery. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was a fun game in regards to the story. The story was very unique. It was different. It wasn't like other games. It was a game that made you actually think intellectually about stuff. But the game wasn't a game at all. All you did was walk from point A to point B, touching radios, listening to audio logs, and seeing these visions play out in front of you. No puzzles whatsoever. No real interaction was needed. And like I said, all you need to do is wander around and eventually you beat the game. There's no real challenge to it. There's no kind of real interactivity to it. It was incredibly simple and honestly, in my opinion, shouldn't have been a video game at all. It should have been a story or a book, and it didn't have to be a game. So, walking simulators, as they call them, are okay if you have a good balance. A perfect example of a good balance recently was the game I just played last week, Soma. That game had exploration, it had puzzles, it had survival where you had to dodge or evade monsters, it had jump scares. It had a lot of elements into it that made it a complete game as well as a fun narrative experience that made you think. So in that regard, that's how you do it. That's how you get the perfect combination of factors. You can't just make a game. We have a great idea for a story, but we don't think it'll be good as a movie, so we're going to make it a game. We'll worry about the gameplay later. It's not going to work. It's not. And that's why I have a problem with these walking simulators as of late. They really need to have an element of fun, interactivity, of challenge, of gameplay, something in it to make the human interaction necessary. And Everybody's Gone to the Rapture didn't, Soma did. That's the difference. All right, next question is from Ellis Island 69. It says, hey Phil, will you be trying out Destiny the Taken King? I've heard it fixed a lot of the issues that you had with the game. Fair enough. Okay, if Destiny the Taken King fixed a lot of the complaints and issues that I had with Destiny last year, that's great. That's all well and good and dandy. Okay, the problem is, I already played Destiny last year. I paid $60 for it, just like everyone else. I played through a boring, unoriginal, rehashed game with content that was blatantly stolen from other franchises and just taped together into a monotonous, repetitive mess that really wasn't original and honestly wasn't very fun. Okay? I don't want to play Destiny ever again. I don't care how much they improve it. Bungie had one chance with the launch of their game to impress me. They did not, and they ripped me off. I feel that that $60 should have been spent on something else. That game was a piece of shit. And it doesn't matter how much the game was improved a year later. Here's the question. Can I play Destiny the Taken King, the improved version of Destiny, for free? No. Guess how much it costs? $60. They charge you to play the new and improved version of Destiny. Sorry, Bungie. You should have had a game worth playing a year ago when everyone bought it the first time. You shouldn't force everyone to rebuy your game because now you finally made it good. Tough titties, first impressions, stay forever. Therefore, fuck Destiny. I don't care that it's improved or any better. I don't want to spend any more time on it. And quite honestly, you shouldn't either. Just because it's Bungie, right? Everyone gives them the benefit of the doubt. Fuck them. Make them put out a good, solid effort the first time around and not rip us off that first time. And that's the problem. Destiny was a game that was only good when you played it like 60 hours of repetitive grinding nonsense. Then, oh, the end game's good. No. Sorry, the real game should have been good, not the grinding bullshit end game that 5% of people who ever played the game reached. Fuck Bungie. There you go. Okay. Excuse me. 3 more questions, and then we're done. These are Facebook questions, okay? From Robson Calverley. He says, will you be playing Shenmue 1 and 2 anytime soon with the release of Shenmue 3 coming in 2017 as the rumored release year? I would like to play Shenmue 1 and 2. The problem is, how would I? Because they're not available on any modern console, right? They were out for Dreamcast, and besides that, I guess maybe you could emulate them, but I believe Dreamcast emulators aren't exactly the most reliable things on the planet. So, how would I do that exactly? I would like to, maybe if there was an HD remaster. Here's another game. That's a good HD remaster, because you can't play it anywhere else. So if they made HD remakes of Shenmue, sure. But I don't know. I would love to play them, but I don't know how I would. Okay? From Giancarlo Clemente, he says, since the emergence of MOBA games like Dota 2, League of Legends, and Smite, is there any chance you'll be playing one of them in the future? Would it be interesting to see what you think and how you do? I don't think that's my style of game, and what I mean by that is MOBA games are repetitive gameplay that you learn. You have to get good react. You have to learn all the units. You have to learn to do good hand-eye coordination and good micromanagement of everything going on in a MOBA game, right? And it's repetitive, and it's exciting at competitive levels, but that's not what I'm known for. I'm not known for playing a game ad nauseum till I get a competitive level and then I fucking, play it. You know what I mean? I'm known for doing fun commentary over games. You can't do fun commentary over a game like that, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, what would I talk about playing MOBA games? I could play them, but I don't think that they would be very popular. I think people would say, Phil sucks at this. Why is he playing it? Do something fun. That's just my take. Now, if you might disagree, let me know. But I don't think that anyone would be interested really in seeing me do that, okay? All right, the final question for this episode of Ask the King is from Daniel Penn. And Daniel Penn says, you just have recently experienced NBA 2K16's campaign mode, which was a Spike Lee joint. What are some movie creators and writers who you would like to see do something similar? Also, what type of games would you like to see those directors be involved in? See, here's the thing. I think that if you got the right guy who understood the interactive medium of a video game, or gal, I don't want to say male, it could be a female too. Don't think that I'm a sexist when it comes to directors that I like. I'm not. If you found the right person who could find the perfect mix of interactivity with an awesome directed story, it could be amazing. Imagine having like a major Hollywood franchise. Like, just think of if The Godfather, right, could be made into a game, and it was Martin Scorsese who was, Francis Ford Coppola who was actually directing the game, and it was original. It wasn't like The Godfather, but I think it was on that level of a story, but it was a game that was actually directed by one of those directors, but it had fun gameplay mixed in with this amazing directed story and actors, motion capture. It could be the best video game ever made, and quite honestly, if you want my take, that could be with the makings of a perfect 10 game. A game that not only is a mix of amazing gameplay, but a cool, professionally directed story with actors and everything, right? That could be a perfect 10 in my book. But we haven't seen it yet. What we see is there have been attempts, right? But we haven't gotten there yet. And then we see a game, for example, Guillermo, I can't see his name right now. Guillermo, whatever his name is, Del Toro. I cannot say his name right now for some reason. If he were to direct a horror game, right, that could be amazing. We were going to see that with Silent Hills, and then, of course, all the bullshit happened with Konami, so now we're not going to see it. I would love to see that, a combination of a well-known director interact with a great game dev team and make the perfect storm of game and movie. Now, who would I like to see? Yeah, I'd like to see Guillermo, I can't say his name, Del Toro. I would like to see, I hate to say it, Wes Craven, who just passed away recently. He could have done a really good job with a horror game, in my opinion. I would like to see Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, these big, high-profile directors actually take video games seriously as an entertainment medium and make a game along with a great dev team. That could be fucking amazing. But are we even there yet? I don't know. Are we at the point where games are accepted in society like movies? And the answer is no. The majority of people still see video games as a little diversion for kids. If you play games, a lot of people think you're immature. Most people think video games are now things you play on your phone. They don't understand that there's something different. And it's a shame that it's still, in this day and age, 2015, video games are the biggest, most profitable entertainment thing in the planet, but they're still stuck in stereotypes. And that's a shame. All right, everyone. Elmo Del Toro. Yes, that's his name. Okay. That is it for Ask the King. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Keep in mind, as I said, there will not be another episode this month. If there is another episode coming up, it will be either late November or December, because I'm going to be so busy with all these gameplay releases. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. And that is it. Peace out, everyone. See you later.